Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me make sure my sound is okay. It is 8:29 on a Saturday. I have a show with Laura Steiner. It's going to be on her channel tonight. She called me yesterday. She was like, hey, did you get that email about that, about that article? And I was like, yeah. She was like, you want to talk about it? I said, sure, let's talk about it. So it's going to be on her channel. I'm checking my mic. There it is. I always check my mic because of stuff like that. My volume is low. So hope everyone had a decent Saturday. I have to be honest, this was one of the most unproductive Saturdays I think I've ever had. I sat and played video games all day. XCOM 2 and Civilization. I used to dominate that game. And somewhere along the way, lost mission, bro. I don't know what happened. I used to be able to beat that game on its hardest level, and somewhere along the way, Jimmy really? Jimmy gave me a shout out? Fucking A. Jimmy, you should watch the podcast today. Multiple shout outs. Oh, man. I appreciate that. I haven't watched it, but I appreciate it. Joe Manchin. Come on down, Joe Manchin. I am eager to get the opportunity to bring Joe Manchin down for a conversation because Joe Manchin has been one of those people who have donned the clothing of a Democrat for far too long, and pretends as if he's part of the resistance and part of the people who are fighting for the West Virginians. Let's examine Joe Manchin for the moment. The reason why I'm having a conversation about Joe Manchin today is because this video was brought to my attention. Take a look at this. This is Joe Manchin. Millionaire Joe Manchin. Millionaire that's enriched by the energy companies. Joe Manchin having this conversation about solidarity with dirt poor West Virginia.
In the Farmington No. 9 mine explosion, I lost an uncle, I lost a neighbor, I lost guys I played ball with. This is real for me. As West Virginians, we've all faced hardships, but we help each other. People here have been screwed by both political parties. Yes, Washington sucks, but West Virginians don't give up, and I will never give up trying to make it better. For me, it's always about West Virginia. That will never change.
Washington sucks. Washington sucks. Mr. Washington is now saying that Washington sucks. Oh, I love it. Shame. How do you... I guess, look, man, I guess everyone is born to do their thing. I imagine if you're watching a porn star and you say to yourself, that porn star is really good at that. That's a magnificent thing that porn star is doing. They may have no other skill in life, but in that very specific moment, that skill is fucking amazing. I feel that way about Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is getting here and is Mr. Washington, millionaire many times over. Joe Manchin, Mr. Washington, is getting here with a straight face, looking into the camera and say, Washington sucks. Washington sucks. And gives, you understand, he said nothing in this. Like he gave a campaign ad in which he says nothing. I can play it again. There's nothing in this about policy, nothing about the way he's going to do to West Virginia, nothing at all. It's purely West Virginia solidarity because I was born in West Virginia and I know West Virginia because I was born in West Virginia and you should vote me because I'm Joe Manchin. And I'm holding on to this thing that said some of my family members died in a mining explosion. I understand, dude, that's sad, that sucks. People have bad things. But then saying, but still West Virginians vote. Well, what are they voting for, Joe? What are they voting for? Now, Joe Manchin has been so terrified by this particular election that he's primary against Paula Swearengin, who I actually like, and I suspect he's more terrified of the Republican, which is why he ended up going on TYT. And TYT, whatever you want to think of TYT, is hostile territory to Joe Manchin because Joe Manchin is, for all intents and purposes, a fucking Republican. Like, come on, let's be honest. This guy who's claiming solidarity with the West Virginians in this point, millionaire Joe Manchin. I say millionaire because I want to create this thing that there is such distinction in class. People don't like to talk about it. It makes people feel a particular way. We need to get familiar with that term, class, because it matters. It's not this solidarity with West Virginia. It's solidarity with a particular class. A particular class. Millionaire Joe Manchin, who's claiming solidarity with West Virginia, just so you can see for yourself, has voted with Trump 60.9% of the time. Solidarity. Washington sucks. You've been screwed by both parties. And I just so happen to vote with the person who we all keep calling a monster. Repeal of guidance meant to protect borrowers from discriminatory markups on auto loans. 2018 fiscal appropriation bill. Rolling back regulations put in place for Dodd-Frank. Oh, of course. White House immigration proposal. Bipartisan immigration proposal. 2-year budget. Department of Defense appropriations bill. We think Donald Trump is a complete maniac, but yeah, so let's get more money. Banning abortions 20 weeks of pregnancy. Get online with Republicans. I guess I'm making a point to you that the solidarity that Joe Manchin is talking about is purely for a political stunt. He said nothing in that campaign ad at all. And I would make the point that what he's trying to get across to you is somehow belied by the way in which he votes and the way in which he operates. Joe Manchin has a net worth of about around $8 million. Enriched heavily on mining, real estate, energy systems. He is the senator from West Virginia, so that makes sense. West Virginia being a coal country, but I guess I'm trying to get this point across that there's a distinction between Joe Manchin looking out for companies, meaning the head of companies, versus the people who are part of those companies. Meaning there's a distinction between the people who run a company versus the people who are in those companies. I'm saying Joe Manchin may look out for a certain section, but he's not necessarily looking out for everyone else. Take a look at this. Millionaire Joe Manchin is representing one of the poorest states in the United States. West Virginia has a poverty rate of 18.5%. Then just so we can clear on that on the rest of the place. Third poorest. Median income. Third median income lowest. Let's put it a little bit more context. This is trying to give this idea of the best states. West Virginia is 47th. Healthcare, 44th. Education, 45th. Economy, 49th. Opportunity, 23rd. Ooh, that's a bright spot. Infrastructure, 50th. Crime and corrections, 33rd. This is not the picture of an awesome state. And yet, millionaire Joe Manchin, who in no way has to deal with any of these things, any of these issues of poverty, continues to vote as if he's a Republican. And yet claims solidarity with West Virginia. That's kind of amazing. Also, just to make another point clear, the teacher strikes. So, yes, Republicans are in charge now, but Joe Manchin was governor of West Virginia. And when he was governor of West Virginia, his thing was cutting taxes. We need to slash the taxes. We need to help those millionaires and plutocrats. Because as go millionaire plutocrats, so go the poor in the West Virginia. Not so much. And in fact, those cuts, how do you give raises to teachers when you're continuously cutting taxes and you have to pay for those tax cuts? This is how tax cuts led to West Virginia massive teacher strike. I'm putting this at the bottom, but although Republicans now control both chambers of the state house, the tax cuts that squeezed the budget were bipartisan undertaking. Then Governor Joe Manchin, a Democrat, quote unquote, who's now one of the 2 state senators in Washington, has urged legislators to purse the tax cuts in 2006, arguing that West Virginia needed to slash taxes on corporations in order to be competitive in other states. How is this different than him just being a Republican? Now, I understand Democrats have moved far, far to the right, but even by Democratic standards, Joe Manchin is for all intents and purposes a Republican. He just takes the name of the D. I don't even know why. Over the following years, the state wound its corporate net tax rate down from 9 to 6.5% and phased out its business franchise tax. It also slashed taxes on grocers from 6 to 3% and later did away with it entirely under Manchin's successor, Democrat Earl Ray Tolman. Over the same span, The state also created a family tax credit, increases homestead exemption, and got rid of alternative minimum tax and corporate charter tax, according to the West Virginia Center on Budget and Tax Policy. All told, those cuts diminished state revenue by more than $425 million each year, the center estimates. As a Charleston Gazette Mail reported in 2016, Manchin later questioned the wisdom of the tax cuts that he championed once the state was facing a budget hole of $353 million. Yes, I love the amount of shame that a person can bear. I don't know if you'd say they're the right or wrong move, but you've got to be competitive, Manchin told the paper. I couldn't be at 9% corporate tax and expect corporations to stay here if they didn't have to. They always play that up, that corporations are immediately going to flee in different places. I would agree with you that just based on the capitalistic thing, you have this race to the bottom when you have this kind of competition. But I suspect that they played it up to a certain degree in order to justify the tax cuts that their donors and the people who are pushing them to do those things make. He slashed taxes tremendously. And in slashing those taxes, the teachers are like, we're getting fucked over in this deal. We're getting screwed. And you're giving these guys massive tax cuts. That doesn't seem fair in the least. Those teachers were getting paid 48th in the state, while Joe Manchin was slashing taxes. Slashing taxes, Joe Manchin. And by the way, again, that wasn't for the people of Joe Manchin. I mean, the people of West Virginia. That was for a very select, specific section of the people of West Virginia. I would submit the people who were essentially helping Joe Manchin, putting money in Joe Manchin's pocket. And one last point on this. West Virginia doesn't have to be this way. West Virginia had an amazing resource, and the United States was able to use that amazing resource. And at some point, the United States said, look, this resource is somewhat dirty, in which case it created a negative impact on the people of West Virginia. It is not insane for the people of West Virginia, like anybody else who has a particular job, to want to keep their job and want to be able to feed their family. For the rest of the country, say, look, that's somewhat of a dirty resource. Yes, that is somewhat of a dirty resource, but if that's me, and I have a wife and a kid to feed, and I have a house and a mortgage or whatever else, a car note, then I don't care if it's a dirty resource. I want to keep my job. I want to be able to take care of my family. I want to be able to afford the things that I would typically be able to afford by having this job. So it's not crazy for them to feel some kind of way about it. Joe Manchin, like Republicans, will play up that fear base and fight for those industries, or go with this idea that he's fighting for those particular industries. West Virginia, you shouldn't be in that situation. There are other solutions to this situation. I would submit to you Alaska. Look at what Alaska did. Sarah Palin had like an 80% approval rating. Did you ever wonder why? Why on earth did that one have an approval rating that way? Alaska residents are going to get $1,884 payout. This is 2014 because of oil. The people in Alaska represented that people in Alaska. And they said, look, this is a resource that is coming from Alaska. And we're not just going to sell this resource off. We're going to sell this resource off, but we're going to make sure that the people of Alaska get a kick out for that resource because it is their resource. It is the peoples of Alaska's resource. Understand what I mean? West Virginia had a resource. That resource should have belonged to the people of West Virginia, and the people of West Virginia should have got a kick out for that in the same way that the people of Alaska. I would make the case that everywhere in the United States should get kicks out for stuff like this, kickouts for stuff like this. But at the very least, West Virginia should not be in the straits that it's in. You had an amazing resource for a period of time, and Joe Manchin, millionaire Joe Manchin, sitting extraordinarily pretty, pretending solidarity with the people who are in West Virginia, with a situation where they're in the bottom in one situation or one section after the next. I mean, look at this. 47th, 44th, healthcare, 44th, education, 45th, economy, 49th. But Joe Manchin is doing amazingly well. Nevertheless, We have this.
In the Farmington No. 9 mine explosion, I lost an uncle, I lost a neighbor, I lost guys I played ball with. This is real for me. As West Virginians, we've all faced hardships, but we help each other. People here have been screwed by both political parties. Yes, Washington sucks, but West Virginians don't.
So do you, Joe. So do you. This is a predatory video that gives no substance at all. And fact is, Joe Manchin is obsequious to his class in the same way that Republicans are obsequious to their class, in the same way that Democrats are obsequious to their class. The fact of the matter is, West Virginia doesn't have to be in the situation that it's in. West Virginia did not have to be in the situation that it was in. This is not an act of God. All of this are policy choices. In the same way that Alaska was able to make some leeway to the people of Alaska to get something back from a resource that supposedly belonged to the people of Alaska, West Virginia, those people did not do that. They allow you to get screwed over and exploited. Joe Manchin was part of that exploitation. I would say, remember that when you're going to the polling and you're looking at Joe Manchin versus Paula Spurgeon. One person screwed you over. One person slashed taxes for the top echelon of that particular society. You have a choice. Republican or somebody who's to the left. Somebody who's further to the left. And by the way, even if they didn't go through that solar power thing, I mean, even if they didn't do the thing of that Alaska went through, slashing taxes in that way prevents that state from using their money for anything else. Like, the state is beholden to the, it's not like the state doesn't own its own currency. The state has to balance its budget. If they're cutting taxes and creating budget deficits, then no, you're not going to have money to give teachers. You're not going to have money for anything. That's going to fall down as a burden on the people of that particular state. And that's exactly what took place. Joe Manchin should be the face and poster boy for those tax cuts. Joe Manchin should be, to some degree, the face to the upheaval that took place with regards to that education system in West Virginia. Here's a problem. He is not your friend. He's not on your side. And the policies that they've taken in West Virginia have essentially led to West Virginia being in the situation that it's in. It could be different. There are other situations. And you should not be in that situation having that resource of coal. So I will leave it at that. Let's see. I have a conversation with Laura Steiner coming up. So this one can't be long. As long as Progressive Voice gets his cut, Bob, then Jamal can do it. Oh, geez. Jamal just can't wait to sell out. Just look at all that bling he wears. Love you, Jamal. Jimmy Dore mentioned you. Karen Neely. Yeah, that's what you're saying. I wish I could see it. I didn't see the video. And, you know, Jimmy doesn't upload his other stuff. He doesn't upload his live feeds. I'm voting for Spurgeon. I like Paula J. I like Paula Spurgeon. I don't give a shit if she's a Democrat. I like her. I like her. If I was in West Virginia, I'd vote for her. Have you seen Paul J's interview of Brisnick? No, I have not. Badger Damon. I'm going to have to check that out. I have not. I'm going to have to check that out. Bresnick. What's his name? Brzezinski. I think you're trying to spell Brzezinski. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I check it out. That should be damn interesting. That should be really interesting. I'll check it out. All right, guys. I'm going to close this because I'm going to be on Laura Steiner's channel. Yeah, supposedly 9 o'clock if she's on time. So I will see you guys later. Don't fall for Joe Manchin's nonsense. I'll just say it that way. Terry J. Hello, Terry J. I haven't seen you in a while. All right. I hate for this to be a hello goodbye, but it has to be a hello goodbye. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks, guys.